Hello everyone, and welcome to the racetrack. We are here with the Continental Circus Series at Laguna Seca. I am your host for today, Sebastiano Rossi, and with me in the commentary booth, there is the owner of tracc.eu, Julian Strasser. Hello, Julian.
Hello, Sebastiano. Lovely to be here in sunny California, actually, for Laguna Seca for this second round of the Continental Circus.
Yeah, indeed, it is a pleasure for me, for you, and for everyone to be here. However, it is going to be sunny to an extent, because there is a chance of rain. 5%, but this is Continental Circus. And like all circuses, there is going to be some amount of buffoonery on track. So I am expecting that 5% of rain to actually happen, because if it doesn't, there is going to be less buffoonery and so less circus. I mean,
yeah, it could
just
it could very well be that it's coming. Yeah, last season especially, we've had multiple races where the chance of rain was very small, and then I already heard before the race people were talking about 50% chances for rain or something, which was never really the case. It was always just 10%.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know sim racers. They always like to exaggerate, complain, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. So, but yeah, there's a major chance that there will be rain today, even if it's on paper just 5%. Because I guess that's the gambler's luck or misfortune, however you want to say it.
Yeah. It does remind me of whenever I play competitive Pokemon, if it is 70%, it's basically zero. But if it is like 5%, it's guaranteed.
Yeah, with the confusion happens every time, for example.
Yeah.
Paralysis, those kind of things. Anyways, we're here doing racing today, and so for this first 10 minutes here, we've got the GT4 grid out, and we're already here with Daniel Steinhaus, one of our German drivers, and looking very good around here. At least in the practice session, he's looked very fast.
Yes, that is very true. And Daniel Steinhaus also with a pretty good race around Bathurst last round. Not the greatest for multiple reasons, some of those being also some incidents that did happen, but nonetheless a very solid driver that is also going to show us around for a flying lap on Laguna Seca. Up to you, Julian.
Exactly. So we're starting on the start-finish straight. Try to get a very good run out of the last corner, crossing the start-finish line there. Have this turn 1 left-hand kink. Break it up between 4 and 3 for this Andretti hairpin. Officially turn 2 here. And try to get a good run out of it as well. You want to do this in double apex. Coming up to turn 3 here. Very important to hit the apexes around here, but to not hit them too much, because you see the sausage curbs on the inside, slightly touching the sausage curb there for turn 4. Not too much though. However, with these GT4 cars, it's very possible to flip them if you take them too much, or to just damage your suspension. Now, through turn 5 there, coming up, going up the hill, very scenic routes. This is also very important on the inside there to not catch the bump. Going up the Rahal Straits, coming into the corkscrew now, which is the corner 7, 8, and 8A. Going down, beautifully taken there. Safely taken by Daniel Steinhaus. And going through Rainy Curve, turn 9 now. And we're coming up, we're already down the hill, we're coming up into the last section of the race. Just as corner 10 here, and one more corner to go, braking at about the 2 marker. Turn 11, coming onto the start finish straight once again, not too far, and this looks like a very solid lap to start us off with. And it is a 1:30.9. We'll see what the other drivers coming after that will be able to do. We have got a lap by Death Player Ente, and we've got a lap by Amethysta VTube, who don't seem to challenge Daniel Steinhaus right now.
Yeah, as we said before, Daniel Steinhaus, very good driver, with a very good race at Bathurst. Shame for the crashes, but sometimes it is what it is. As we see the rest of the GT4 grids finishing, we saw Eric Hutter and Ian Terrible, and now we're seeing Adrian Dubrovka finishing this lap, and is going to be P4 with 2.5 seconds below pole position. Now we see the lone Audi on the grid, driven by G-Fox, and is going to finish with that's a slow lap time compared to the rest of the grid, 5 seconds behind. Now we see Omet Omf with the Technoburst Porsche Cayman. How is she going to finish this lap? It is going to be P2, only 2 tenths behind Paul. I mean, David Steinhaus did complete a very good lap, and anyone getting close to that lap time, that's pretty good, not going to lie.
It is pretty good, yes, but it seems like Daniel Steinhaus wants to improve it immediately, going into a lower 1:30 lap time. There's a yellow flag somewhere around the circuit, but improving Daniel Steinhaus into 1:30.6, immediately bringing Omet's Ohm more than half a second back in P2.
Yeah, almost a 3/10 improvement lap time. That is very good driving, as we see Steve EJ from Grip Runners with... That's actually a good improvement by 7.5 tenths. It's not going to gain them a position, but still, it's going to get them closer to Ian the Terrible in P6. Now they are not that far behind the South African driver on the McLaren. Interesting. I also saw in P4 Sasha Dechov, placing the Darkness La Latina Mercedes AMG number 781 in P4. Good showing by our Bulgarian driver, as they are only 1 second, well, 0.99 tenths. Hundredths, my bad. Only 0.99 hundredths behind pole position, and that's not too bad.
It isn't, but it's looking like there's still going to be some improvements being made. Not by Daniel Steinhaus this lap around, but there are quite a bunch of green deltas. Steve EJ is still improving on the lap time, Adrian Dubrovka improving on the lap time, Ian the Terrible improving, Amethysta VTube improving, Omet Ohm maybe also improving. There's a whole lot of green currently on the delta, and it's going to, well, they only have this lap and then maybe 2 more laps after this to improve, because after 10 minutes are over, it's the GT3's turn.
Yeah, and you really do not want multi-class qualifying. It is extremely chaotic and extremely bad for both classes, so we have to divide them. Even though it is a bit artificial, it is for the good of the grids, both the GT3s and GT4s, and well, technically the overall one. As we see Adrian Dubrovka finish a lap and getting closer and closer to Amethysta in P6, as there are only 2.5 tenths dividing them, I think. They're pretty close anyways. And now, speaking of 2.5 tenths, well, almost 2.5, Daniel Steinhaus, we see the German driver exiting the corkscrew and approaching the final corner at Laguna Seca with a 3 tenths lead on their best lap time. This promises to be a very good lap time, as we see them exiting the hairpin. Yeah, that is 3.6 tenths faster. That is a good lap time. Daniel Steinhaus literally telling the rest of the grid, I'm here to win, I'm here to dominate, you can already go home if you want to. That is an extremely dominant performance from the German.
I'm sitting here, you know, like that meme with the Barack Obama not bad. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really
That's
good.
an old one, but it checks out.
Yeah, as Amethysta V2, you've also managed to improve by 2/10 there. Next up, coming around is Erika Hotter, who is also looking to improve slightly, but challenging Omet Om. And unfortunately, Adrian Bobrovka lost a bit of time in these last couple of corners, therefore does not seem to improve this time around, but gets one more chance.
Yeah, and the last chance. Our GT4 drivers only have this lap to try and improve, and after that, it's time for the GT3s, which I think the range is already trying to warm up. And as we see, Omet Om aborting her qualifying lap and effectively ending her qualifying session right here and there.
She could have
Now,
done another lap there.
Yeah, Daniel Steinhaus might get another lap in.
Definitely does.
Yeah, this is going to be a slow out lap, and then we see the German exiting from the hairpin to start their last lap, and hopefully a good one. We will show the best for the drivers in our races, and at the same time, I also don't want to jinx people after I said that, because I do remember that, like, the first commentary I did for V-Track, I literally murdered 7 or 8 people with my jinxing around in Schleifer. I just hope that doesn't happen anymore after what I just said.
I'm just gonna say welcome to the commentary booth, if that is the case, because I have done my plenty of calling out people in the past.
Yeah, but that was Dekov, I think, at the exit of the class crew, going straight, and Adrian Dabrovka also going straight. That is bad. You really don't want to see that, but
there's still a couple
again, this
more...
is Laguna Seca.
Yeah, and there's still a couple more laps that need to be finished by the GT4s. We have Daniel Steinhaus still on a lap, Artemenko is still on a lap, and Amethysta. All of them are currently on a green delta as well. Daniel Steinhaus looking to be the first one of those to finish the lap. Only 2 more corners to go. Currently just barely up on their time. Honestly, he doesn't need to improve anymore, but might want to do it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, better be safe rather than sorry. And something I've also noticed, all the drivers that have yet to finish the lap are all on BMWs, as we see Daniel Steinhaus not improving their lap time, but still having a pretty good performance. Amethysta went back to the pits and didn't finish their lap time, as we see Yemen Artek, driving sideways at the exit of the corner. Half a second green on that delta, and we see the Ukrainian driver really throwing that car in. They lost something, but still enough for P3? Maybe, yes! Yes!
Only 12 thousandths behind Orm in P2. That is a very close.
I mean, yeah. Very, very, very good.
But that's going to be a battle for P2 there, definitely, between Omet Orm, Artemenko, and Hutzer. All of them are pretty close. And meanwhile, the GT3s are out already on their flying laps.
Yeah, as we see, Isaac Amras right now, very good driver, very fast driver on that Mercedes, and also, I think P3 overall, last race at Bathurst, Isaac Amras is a driver you need to keep your eyes on, because if you don't, it's going to be scary. And you don't want Isaac Amras to be scary.
It is going to be scary, and Isaac Amras already showed that in the practice session earlier, being in the top 3 pretty much the entire time, with, interestingly, 2 fellow AMG drivers. Marcel Seuss was also very good, and Ben Zeitz was also, well, he topped, I think, the end of the practice session, so we'll see where all of those line up at the end of this qualifying session. But first of all, we're gonna get the first lap time here by Isaac Amras. Let's see what he gets to make.
It is a 1:23.912. Good lap from Isaac. As we see, oh no, never mind. Marcel Schux with half a second faster, and Zeitz with a 1:22.810.
There we go.
Our AMG drivers are not messing around.
The 3 AMGs from the practice session are immediately showing up here for the qualifying session as well. But now we'll see Daniel Castellana, who won the last race, if I recall correctly, put in the first lap and immediately up into P2 on the first flying lap.
Yeah, 32 thousandths ahead of P3 with Marcel Schulz. That is going to be tight. That is going to be extremely tight as we see the Mercedes. The Ferrari of Jan Paul putting it into P5 as we see the rest of the GT3 grid approaching the end of their lap. Zdenek oh god, I don't know how to pronounce it. Our Czech driver on the BMW putting it into P5. I'm sorry, I tried. And Sergei Chernov actually snagging the P5 from our Czech driver. Very good competition.
Yeah, it seems like it's getting mixed up now. The AMGs are not everything anymore. However, Isaac Umbris, as I say that, immediately up into P1, and Sus immediately up into P3. So the AMGs are on top once again. Now it just remains to see where's Gary Slater plays and where does the rest improve.
Yeah, Gary Slater with some traffic outside the exit of the last corner with the J overdrive, but still the British driver is able to put it into P7. Daniel Castellana in P3. Good improvement from the German Ferrari driver. As now we see Jan Paul with the formerly named that was the other non-Porsche Mantai Bagu racing car, putting that Ferrari in P8. And then we see Ersi and Zuna Kihara are about to finish their laps. Zun in the Aston Martin, I know him, he's a fast driver, but is he going to be able to capitalize on his speed and do well when we see P6? Not too bad, not too bad. Or is he Sergei Chernov right behind? Is he going to be able to snag that P6 back? Yes! And with a good margin. Very good showing from also our Aston Martin drivers. Isaac Ambras with the 122.4, very good lap time. Then we see Marshall Schulz, small improvement, but still nonetheless it is a good improvement. However, Zeiss, I was about to say, half a second up his best lap time. He ends up in P1 with a commanding lead. Well, it is a 10th, but still pretty good. Ubidius, wide. I think that is before the last hairpin. That is not a place where you want to go wide, especially with so little time left. There are only, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You really don't want to waste your occasions with so little time left.
That's enough time for an outlap though, and then to get another fast lap in. So I think it's better to just go back to the pits and then, rejoin
back to the pits, then back out. Yeah. Now we see Jan Paul still in P10, only half a tenth behind the British Ferrari driver Gary Slater. But still, they will need to improve, and they're doing that to be fair, but so is Gary Slater, so getting that P9 is going to be difficult. Now we see Zdenek Ersi, and back to Gary Slater, I guess. No, back to... Okay, thank you!
I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulties right now.
Yeah, I was about to say thank you, race direction. You're confusing me a little bit, but I guess it could be worse. We see our Czech driver on BMW trying to improve their lap time. They're currently 2.5 tenths up on their lap time, 3 tenths actually. So that's a great delta, pretty good lap time. Ooh, very close to an inside sausage on T6. I really hate that internal sausage. It cut me out so many times. I hate it. Aggressive entry into the car screw, and we see now exiting it with a 6 tenths delta. That is very good. Now we're going to see the Zula Chiara in the gravel. But that doesn't distract Zdenek Ersi. Well, maybe a little bit, as they lost a tenth or and a half. Now we see the hairpin. Ooh, not the greatest hairpin. As now the delta is 2.5 tenths, but still is going to be an improvement. Not enough to get P7, but still better than nothing. As Danek RC is now going to have enough time, I think, for 2 more laps. Oh, oh no! Ooh, ooh, he got it. He got it. But still, this lap is down the drain. It is now time for, well, just the next one. If he's going to be able to... No, never mind. He's pulling out. He's pulling out, and that is the end of qualifying for Zdenek RC. Our Czech driver on BMW is going to finish in P8, and to be fair, that is quite a scenic shot. Not going to lie. Pretty good, pretty good. Now, with the same technical difficulties as before, we see Zeiss still in P1 with the Mercedes AMG with a 122.010. Then Daniel Castellana in P2 with the Ferrari, breaking the AMG monopoly with a 122.400. Right behind them, Isaac Ambras in the pits, so that is going to be at best P3 for Isaac Ambras with a 124.417, followed by Shooks, Ash in the pits, so Ash is going to do best P5, Chernov, Zulakihara, RC, Ubidius, Slater, Paul, DJ Overdrive, and Amantic Zanes finishing our GT3 grid. Well, very tough qualifying session, as our GT3s are now going to be able to only finish their current lap, and there are really a lot of improvements. The biggest two are Sux, never mind, and Chernov, and Gary Slater with 3 tenths green delta, as we're going to be probably able to see the British driver being able to snag P9 from Ubidius on Ford. And to be fair, that is a very good lap time. I hear the Ferrari down the straight, that is going to be a 123.24. Okay, Gary Slater, P9 with a 124.847. Very good, very good. Yeah, I think that is going to be it. There isn't really much else happening on track. All the deltas are red, besides Chernov, with just going a tenth faster, but it's not going to be enough to get P5 from David Ash. And so that is going to be it for our grid. Very intense qualifying session. As expected from qualifying, the three Mercedes AMGs are absolutely dominating the top of the grid, with Daniel Castellana being the odd one out in the middle with the Ferrari. Yeah, now we see our drivers lining up on the grid to actually start the race. The session is going to start in 1 minute and 45 seconds, where the drivers can adjust their fuel in their car, and after that, formation lap and let hell break loose. Alright. I need to rest a little bit.
Understandable.
Because those drivers are actually very good. They didn't really leave me with a lot of time to rest, but damn! Ooh. Alright.
There's definitely going to be an interesting race with the there's been some very close battling in between the different the different GT4s, especially for battling for P2, but also the GT3s. There's been some close results there.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be huge fights for P1 at the beginning, because once traffic comes in the picture, anything really goes. At the same time, our drivers that were able to get P1 did so with relatively commanding lead, so I do not know what to fully expect against them, as you know, that was a pretty good showing from them. Anyway, 5 more seconds for our driver to finish the loading the fuel in, and there we go. Now the formation lap should start. As we see, Zeiss leaving the grid. Well then, expectation from the race, besides what we said before, lapping cars is going to be very interesting, especially since Laguna Seca is somewhat of a wide track, but it's not the widest. So lapping does present some challenges. One other thing that needs to be pointed out is that not all the track presents itself to lapping and being lapped. Especially the middle sector, I would say, is the most difficult when it comes to lapping. As you have corners like T6, which is, I mean, pardon my, Olic language, but T6 is a bastard. I've broken too many suspensions on that corner to have good words for it. I really just can't. Corkscrew is also going to be the big no-no place when it comes to lapping, unless you're already side by side or ahead before going into there. Also, the corner after, if I'm not mistaken, you said it was rainfall, right?
Rainy curve.
Rainy curve, thank you. Rainy curve is also going to be very tricky to do lapping there, considering that it is again in the most technical section of the track and it is a long sweeping corner. You might want to be patient there and wait for the next opportunity for the last corners of the lap. At the same time, overtaking opportunities, there aren't really too many. You have Andretti hairpin, which is probably going to be your best opportunity, turn 2. Then turn 11 and the corkscrew are going to be your best ones, but still, it's not going to be the easiest place in the world to overtake here at Laguna Seca. Now we see our cars gridding side by side, getting ready for the standing starts, trying to put as much heat as possible into those tires, as going that slow on the formation lap is going to really cool your tires down too much and you don't want that. We see now they're approaching the last corner. Only one corner left to go. And then Zeiss needs to wait for the green to come out in order to send the grid. We see them approaching the start-finish line. And green, off we go! Round 2 of the Continental Circus is officially on. As we see our sea of Mercedes heading into T1. However, the rest of the grid behind is able to keep it clean. No major position changes. And there doesn't really seem to be a crash into T1. That is very good. Oh, never mind. I meant Zane's going almost off track at the first lap. Ooh, Ash going slow in the McLaren. Something must have happened there. That is...
There was a big misunderstanding because there's already a huge gap here between P4 and P5. 2.3 seconds between the two already. And there must have something happened there concerning Ash as well, who was pretty slow coming out of turn 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Ash was actually P5, so the big gap must have happened because of something he has done that also led to, well, him losing a lot of positions. And we see Ametrix Zays struggling with traffic here at the corkscrew. That is not a place you want to be in a GT3 in the sea of GT4s. They're going to slow you down a little bit, as we see also Chernov. Chernov here behind the entire grid of the GT4s, and Ash at the bottom of everything. That is not something you want to see if you're a GT3 driver.
Definitely not something good, as Ben Zeitz is still in front of Daniel Castellana. The two, well, we'll have to see what Daniel Castellana can do today. Maybe this circuit is not the very best for the Ferrari. I will have to figure that out. The only thing that is clear is before this session it must have rained, because the track is currently green, and well, so all of the rubber that has built up through the sessions has been taken away.
Oh, that is something you really do not want to see as a driver. Really, all the grip you got used to in qualifying is now gone. You need to get used back again to a different track, which at the same time is also the same track. That is really going to be tricky for our drivers, as we see Ametista with a slow XC46. Omet trying to send it on the corkscrew. Is she going to be able to do so around the outside? Maybe they're still side by side. No, never mind. Ametista is able to defend. And now we have Steinhaus, which dropped down in P4 in class, trying to overtake Omet home, but still, that is not going to be easy. Now we see Jan Paul and Gary Slater, the other two Ferraris on the grid, trying their best, but at the same time, they have lost quite a lot from Hershey in the GT4, and we see the rest of the GT4 grid with David Ash trying to recover the lost positions, but at the same time, it's not going to be a race that David Ash has to do only on pace. Now, the mindset of the Polish driver, which has a bit of a bonk on the front, has to be a very strategic one. In order to regain anything, David Ash really needs to play it strategically.
That is correct.
Nothing else can work.
But if we look at the positive in this situation, both David S. and Sergei Chernov.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. There is Sergei Chernov. Both of them already get a bit of practice in with multiclassing, and this is a very controlled scenario for both of them. They don't have to battle within class, they just get to practice racing against the GT4s now, as Sergei Chernov is now up in front of almost the entire grid. Only Artemenko, who is really gapping the rest of the GT4 grid here, is still ahead of him.
Yeah, and it is also going to be good practice for the GT4s, as they also play a part in the dance of the lapping. The GT4s, these lower cars, also need to learn how to be predictable, so it is going to be a good learning experience for the both of them. When it comes to the faster class, however, we see the bottom of the grid with Zdenek, I think, yeah, Zdenek Hershey. Here, with the lone... wait, no, that's not the lone BMW GT3, my bad. There is also a Matrix Zeiss with the best BMW GT3 right now, chasing down the J Overdrive, and, you know, being somewhat close. The gap isn't that big. The Lexus will have, well, to push. They will really have to push quite a lot, because the Czech driver behind, it doesn't look to me like they want to settle for P8. It looks to me like they want to be very aggressive against the grip runners Lexus. It's not going to be an easy time for DJ, as we see the pressure that is being put on DJ's shoulders with the Lexus going 2 wheels off the track.
I mean, at this moment, it almost seems like DJ is overdriving his car.
Yeah, you are not wrong. You are not entirely wrong. That is exactly what you probably Hershey is hoping is going to happen. DJ overdrives his car too much because of the pressure, and that's how you can snag an easy position around Laguna Seca. However, if DJ can hold his nerves, he can make it difficult for our Czech driver to actually land the overtake. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, overtaking, honestly, there are a few spots around here where you can overtake, one of which would be the next corner coming up here. Whoa!
No.
And I was about to say, but not from that distance. You know, RC almost trying to prove me wrong there. Lost quite a bit of ground to DJ Overdrive in that regard there. Maybe just a little bit of not being used to a different brake marker that DJ Overdrive has to take in the Lexus. However, that means that Paul and Slater behind are currently on the rear of RC, and that doesn't mean that they need to be able to catch up now with him and stay with him the entire time. But Paul can take a look at the lines that RC is driving and maybe get a bit of an inspiration.
Yeah, and not just Paul, there is also Gary Slater right behind, with first seat, with the first class seating, right behind this battle happening, and that can also learn quite a lot. Ametista, what is going on? D3s, oh, there I saw him, and I'm getting the wall. I think that was Dechov, yeah, Sasho Dechov in the wall. Ametista got unsettled on the curves, exiting the corkscrew, and then I think bumped into the MG. That is not something you want to see as a driver. That is yikes. Anyway, this is racing. Stuff like this happens, and drivers need to make the most of it. As we see, Sasho Dechov using their pit stop immediately to repair their damage, and also potentially massively undercutting the entire field. And speaking of field, the top of the GT3 field is almost catching up to the GT4 field. Besides Dechov, that has had to pit, I think Zeiss is only a few seconds behind
Just
EJ.
a corner away now.
Yeah, just a corner away from the bottom of the GT4 grid. So it is going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with lapping and stuff.
But for me, it's interesting to see how much Ben Seitz was able to gap the rest of the GT3s. As we can see, there's a battle for P2 here between Castellana, Ambros, and Zeus. But Castellana is 4 seconds behind Seitz now, as we're 10 seconds into the race. So it looks to be a very commanding race today by Ben Seitz.
Yeah, just like we saw last time around Bathurst. However, last time around Bathurst, Zeitz lost the position on Castellana on strategy with an abnormally long pit stop. So we need to hope that Ben Zeitz is going to be able to not repeat that same mistake as we see the German drive that dropped down all the way in P10 from P7.
Yeah, something must have happened there, because he's now even behind Paul and Slater, who earlier did not look like they had a pace advantage on DJ Overdrive. This means that DJ now can stay at the back a bit, stay in the slipstream of Gary Slater. Whoa, going very late there, and there's going to be a contact. Rear-ending Gary Slater, and that's, well, that gaps everyone. Well, spreads out everyone, I should say.
Yeah, also that bump, it wasn't a small one. Gary Slater probably picked up some damage, the same way as the German driver, as we now see Matrix Zanes still struggling with the GT4 field.
It seems like also something happened to Mentrix here, because earlier he was in front of the GT4 grid, so maybe struggling with the circuit, how it is currently, with the weather, something like that. As Ben Seitz is still in the lead and coming up to the rear of the GT4 grid, where someone is... Oh, there's Dechov again!
Dechov again! Dechov in the Mercedes AMG, the Darkness Mercedes AMG. It is not fitting straight. Awful race for our Bulgarian driver for the time being.
When Dechov did repair the damage, as we see the drivers getting out of the way of Ben Seitz in the lead. But maybe some damage does still remain.
Possible.
As now we see the battle here between Adrian Dubrovka and Amethysta Vitiu for P5 of the GT4s.
Good launch from Amethysta. That was very clean and very... yeah, that was a very clean move and a very good one. And now it is all of Adrian Dubrovka needs to do everything all over again in order to re-overtake Ametista. Maybe with the faster traffic approaching, he's going to be able to have an occasion.
I mean, it's a good position here for Adrian to get caught from the Ferrari. Amethysta has a bit more trouble here. Staying on the inside, though, not backing down from the GT3s coming up ahead. Now it's a little bit of a sketchiness coming up with this Mercedes.
Yeah, turn 6.
And this is the chance for Adrian. This is the chance for Adrian Dubrovka to catch up. However, it does not seem like he capitalized enough on it through the corner where he had the potential for a better line. However, he's still on the back of Amethyst of YouTube. There's still the battle between those two raging.
Yeah, speaking of not capitalizing enough, it seems like Isaac Ambras was able to capitalize with them having to lap. Ooh, Matrix off track. Matrix must have some problems. Like that GT3 doesn't. I saw earlier that it seemed like had some kind of suspension damage. Now we see him off track. Something must have happened.
It's easy to get to put a tire wrong in the corkscrew, as we see a lot of damage on the front of that car.
Oh, a race to forget for Matrix. As he also taps the tires there. Very common mistake to do. I think everyone has done it at one point in time. Tapping the barriers, the hairpin at the entrance of the pit lane. A very easy thing to do. As we see, wait, is that? Yeah, that's Hershey. Hershey behind the German drive right now with Gary Slater and Jan Paul being ahead of everyone, and Chernov also behind everyone, losing I think 5 positions. No, wait, no.
Oh, Chernov was in the back at the beginning. Chernov is catching up to the rest of the grid here, doing a very good job. That I think the alone time without having to fight is really helping Chernov to catch up with the rest of the GT3 grid. As we see Ursi here, Stenneg Ursi needing to overtake a GT4 now in order to be able to catch up to the Lexus once again. This is probably not the position that Ursi wants to be in, but all the better for Jan Paul and Gary Slater. Consistency is king for those two, as both Overdrive and Ursi had some sort of issue, and those two now reaping the rewards of their consistent drive.
Basically.
Yeah,
consistency and patience. Very good showing by two Ferrari drivers. And I also would like to point out that it seems like we have our first DNF for the race. I do not see a Matrix Ace on the timings, so I think this is a DNF for our German driver.
Unfortunate. On another part of the race, we see Isaac Ambras reeling in Marcel Suss once again, only 3-4 tenths behind the Hungarian right now. This is a battle though between two of the Mercedes, and as we said earlier already, all of the Mercedes today are strong in their class in terms of pure pace from what we've seen.
Yeah, and no doubt the drivers are hurt by their car and the BOP by the same time. Without a good driver behind the wheel, you do not get that far ahead easily. And we see Omet Tom trying to get out of the way a bit too much. Like, GT4 drivers do not have to do that, but I guess the
maybe overshot the braking, who knows. All that we know is that Marcel Suss is trying to go to the inside of this BMW here. That's safe. That's safe. The 222 seemed for a second like they would turn in a bit too much. However, safely done by Daniel Steinhaus, currently P2 in the GT4s. Wouldn't have expected anything less from him. But Daniel Steinhaus will be hoping for some ability to catch up, because these two Mercedes who are battling here for position are catching up to Artemenko. And Artemenko going off track there and getting really slidey through that corner. Going up the hill now.
Artemenko, it doesn't seem like you... doesn't seem like the Ukrainian driver was the only one to do so. as we saw also the two Mercedes behind going a little bit off track with a wheel on the gravel. That was a sight to behold at the exit of turn 5. And speaking of battling, Omet Om closing in on Steinhaus.
Omet
That
Om
is
had the
interesting.
issue earlier that we saw, so Omet has to catch back up to Steinhaus now. We know how fast Om can be in GT3s especially, because we've seen that in the V-Track last season. However, is it GT4 also as favorable for them? I mean, once a racer, always a racer, I guess. Doesn't matter what you race in. Two very different lines here by Omet Om and Daniel Steinhaus. Omet Om going for a very wide sweeping line through the Andretti hairpin, whereas Steinhaus going for a very tight inside line. Might be difference of the cars as well. Obviously, the BMW of Steinhaus being a front-engined car, and the Porsche, how else could it be, rear-engined?
Yeah, I mean, Porsche knows to build well one type of car, and to be fair, they also built some very good front engine rear-wheel drive cars, but at the same time, rear engine cars are their trademark. We now see battle for P9. Sergei Chernov approaching the G-Overdrive, and it looks like they have the pace. And we see, Jan Paul in P8. They lost a lot from Gary Slater.
Yeah, and Ursi gained a lot of time as well.
Chernov with the move.
That's some door banging. That looks like some British touring car action there.
I mean, only one car is British, and the touring is a bit grand. So, I think we have some similarities, but also a lot of differences there.
Gary Slater, though, being the only one of these cars currently that has been able to keep it safe so far, up into P6 now, and needing to somehow catch up to Zula Kihara, who is almost half a lap ahead at this point. That's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, Gary Slater needs to start thinking about strategy right now, because they do not have any threats from behind, but they are also in no position to threaten the drivers ahead. So Gary Slater, if he wants to get the position, it has to be on strategy, as we see. Who's that? The player enter, which went... Ooh, that was close. That was very close. That player enter going wide at the corkscrew and almost collecting ice cameras.
That looks scary, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost reminded me of a certain Lamborghini Super Trofeo incident. Luckily not that harsh of an impact, this one. No impact at all, just a bit of off-tracking.
Yeah, and I think also just a bit of underwear change required for our drivers, because that was very scary for us. Must have been scary for them, as we see ice cameras that almost attempted a move, and Daniel Steinhaus that lost the position on Omet Om, which puts that Cayman in P2.
Exactly, that Cayman is in P2, and quote-unquote only 4.7 seconds behind Artemenko. Now, obviously, we have 40 more minutes left in this race, so all of that time can be made up without a problem. However, the question is, will Steinhaus just let Omet Om race up ahead? We don't know yet, as David S. is now in the pits.
Yeah, I think our first GT3 car to actually do the mandatory pit stop, well, outside of Amentry Zanes, but that looks more and more like a DNF from our German driver.
Maybe it was a disconnect, and that's why he rejoined now. We will have to find out at some point. Ian the Terrible here in a battle with the Mercedes of Sasha Dekhov.
Yeah, that's Dekhov,
who is a few laps behind.
No position. Dekhov, like for the repairs, I think that Dekhov is now trying to regain as much ground as possible, and then hopefully try and do something on strategy because of the early pit stop. I do not know how much they are going to be able to do, but at the same time, we can only wish them the best.
I mean, props for the fighting spirit here. Props for the fighting spirit.
Never giving up. Now we see Ben Zeiss with an even more commanding lead. That is 8.1 seconds ahead of Daniel Castellana, which in turn is also 5 seconds ahead of Schurz in P3. That is a podium.
It's definitely
It's
definitely very commanding, and in the meantime, it seems that the track has also gone too fast. We're not on an optimum circuit yet, however, times are going to get quicker by the minute, as we're still pretty cloudy, but there is no rain forecast within the next 30 minutes, so it seems like it should be dry until the end of the race.
Well, we can always hope for a rain shower in the last 5 minutes. As we see a Matrix Zanes rejoining the track, so that wasn't a DNF. I mean, good on Matrix for not giving up, I'm not going to lie.
Exactly. But it seems like Isaac Umbers right now is losing a bit of ground to Marcel Suess right up ahead. It seems that Marcel Suess has a bit of a better pace in this stage right now, towards the end of the first stint, as people are starting to get into the pits. As we see here, David S., for example, coming out of the pits, but not having finished the mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, they must have stopped for repairs, because that was also a very long pit stop. As we see actually Chernov serving also a pit stop. So maybe they're going to be the first GT3 to serve their mandatory pit stop. I do not know for certain, but yeah, in outer green, so Chernov in just bump. I think double from Omet Ormond, Daniel Steinhaus. The fight for P2 in GT4 is feisty.
Yeah, this answers my question from before. Daniel Steinhaus will not just let Omet Orm drive away to catch up to Artemenko.
At the same time, wouldn't you want to at least try and cooperate as drivers to catch Artemenko? Because, I mean, the lead is pretty big. Like, wouldn't you want to do that as a driver? Because if you cooperate, you might be able to gain P1. Ooh, as we see that player Ante going too wide on the exit of turn 6. Yeah, no matter what, Artemenko is going to thank Steinhaus and Om for their fight, because that gives the Ukrainian driver a pretty huge lead, which means they can sleep soundly. No pressure.
But I will say, as they came over the start-finish line, there was a 6.1 second gap between Artemenko and Steinhaus. Now it's just 5.6 seconds. So I think the two, Steinhaus and Ohm, it doesn't really matter which of the two lead. They probably both have a better pace if they don't do mistakes. So they just need to try and catch up together to Artemenko in order to make up this position, to bring the battle to the front.
In the meantime, the German drive also served the mandatory pit stop in the GT3 field and is now going to rejoin behind the top 3 in GT4, and that is BMW right behind of Archie, which is going to see again the Lexus ahead of them. Now at this point in time, it's not going to be for position, it is going to be for stop and go for David Ash.
David Ash here with the stop go 30, probably a speeding issue
in the pit lane.
Out of the pits. Easily done around here because the pit entry is earlier than some might anticipate. Well, at least speeding down with the 50. However, you need to slow down anyways in order to not hit the tire wall. So I don't know. Maybe forgot to engage the pit limiter. Anything might have happened. After all, it is a stop-go penalty, and yeah.
Now we see Adrian Nabovka having to deal with the two angry Mercedes AMGs. I did a mix between English and German pronunciation of AMG. But yeah, doesn't look like they're anymore in a heated battle, because the Hungarian driver looks like they were able to gain a big enough lead on Isaac Ambras to actually rest easy.
Actually, how do you pronounce AMG in Italian?
AMG.
Bless you.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Now we see Dekov was able to gain a position on that Plagerente on strategy. So good thing on the Bulgarian, that is one position less to go. And we see Ubedius also, the third pit stop, and Garris later also. I think Jan Paul is going to finish serving the pit stop very soon. Ooh, problem with lap traffic, which meant that the German driver was almost able to get in position on Ubedius. As we see DJ trying it around the outside. What an overtake! What an overtake by DJ Overdrive. That is just chef's kiss.
But this
Absolute cinema.
This also means that in the Korshu, the Artemenko lost quite a bit of time. And you can see the BMW of Steinhaus and the Porsche of Omet Ohm are already within very close distance, as there's Ersi going wide here. So having to overtake the two GT4s once again.
Yeah, that is not going to do the GT4s any favor, because having a GT3 striving to lap you again, that could potentially mean a loss of time, and you really don't want losses of time.
Especially when you're just under 3 seconds now behind the lead. That's what I said earlier about not taking too much off the curb on the inside. Yeah,
those curbs, they are deadly. They are extremely deadly. Oh, Zeitz, that was the white MG. Oh, Omet Ohm bumping RC out of the track. Okay, that's well, that's the beauty of multi-class racing. You also have risks, and you must take them. You cannot afford to not take them. That is not a luxury you can afford.
It seems like there's minimum damage on the front of that Porsche now. We'll have to see though. RC now having to do it all over again for the third time. And this is not doing anyone here involved any favors, as you said before.
Yeah.
However, it seems like Daniel Steinhaus is catching up to Ian the Terrible now. So that is within class battling. That is within class
lapping.
Lapping, exactly, because blue flag. And RC now finally able to move past Omet Ohm and also moving past Ian the Terrible here. As Daniel Steinhaus then is next, and he's within grasping distance almost of Artemenko already.
Yeah, Steinhaus that we saw getting pole position in class in GT4s, they are able to actually catch up Artemenko quite a bit. As I do remember that the gap a few laps ago was more than 5 seconds. Now it is 3.3 seconds, so not too bad on Steinhaus. Yeah, now it's official, we're halfway through.
And halfway through we are with Isaac Ambras and Marcel Sus battling as well, as there's a car off up ahead.
Yeah, I think that was Matrix. Hopefully with the good rejoin, yeah, Matrix keeping it off track and not having a bad rejoin. Good on Matrix for keeping it clean with Isaac Ambras that actually gained quite a lot, almost a second on the Hungarian driver. Very good driving.
Yeah, I think Isaac is back in his groove now. That's the question, however, as they're coming up to Ian the Terrible. When will they pit? It's now halfway through the race. There is mandatory tire swap. Optimally, theoretically, it would be right now. And yeah, Isaac is doing it. As we see
Isaac Ambras diving into the pits, trying to undercut the Sux. Is he going to be able to do so, however? That is the question. Zeitz also into the pits, same as RC. Yeah, I think the rest of the GT3 grid is now going to pit. Well, anyone that has not pitted is going to do so either this lap or I'm guessing the next one, because otherwise you might be going too long and that is not going to be a good one for you.
This means now that Daniel Castellana has inherited the lead and is able to get a few leading laps, as right behind that there's still the battle brewing between Daniel Steinhaus and Omet Ohm, as we see the Mercedes of Marcel Süss catching up to this battle. Marcel Süss easily going through Omet Ohm and also... Oh, but going wide while trying to go through Daniel Steinhaus. This is not helping anyone once again.
Yeah, T6 again catching people off guard again. That is, as I said before the race started, a bastard corner.
And Artemenko is going to really enjoy this, the battling behind, and that they're struggling so much with the lapping. Because Artemenko seemingly cruising through all of that, as we see right behind there.
Castellana.
Süss going into the pits, Castellana into the pits, and the battle between Steinhaus and Omet Ohm is continuing.
Yeah, the battle for P2 in the GT4 field is going to only intensify from now on, as really there isn't anything else you can do besides, well, you're this close, might as well trying to duke it out with the other guy you're racing with. Really, you don't really have a lot of other options left. Oh, we see Omet Ohm on two wheels! Clipping the inside curb of, what was that, T3? Yeah, T3.
Yeah, as I said, T3, T4, those are very common for two-wheel moments. As we see Ametric Saints again with damage, unfortunately. Amethysta VTube exiting the pits right now. And Daniel Castellana also exiting the pits, which means that the lead is now with, where is he?
Zula Kihara.
Zula Kihara, who is currently in the lead with his Aston Martin. Let's see how many lead laps he will get in before he has to pit as well.
I mean, probably only one more. As I want to point out, Isaac Ambras was able to overtake Marcel Süss for 10, like...
Oh yeah, post pits, yeah, right.
Yeah, post pits. I think, yeah, it is virtually P3 accounting for the cars that have yet to pit, aka Sulakihara. And speaking of pitting, Artemenko and Steinhaus both in the pits, but Omet Ohm stays out.
Yes.
That is going to be interesting.
And we see
for
the
lead. Zula Kihara in the pits.
So I think that only leaves us with one mandatory pit stop remaining. That is Omet Ohm, the current leader of the GT4 class.
Yeah, exactly. He is going to be the person that has yet to pit, and probably going to be the last one to serve their mandatory pit stop, as no one else on the grid has to do that anymore. As we see Artemenko exiting the pits, again way ahead of Steinhaus, but now Steinhaus doesn't have Omet Ohm to worry about. Steinhaus has a lap in clean air where all
and it's up to 30.
Oh, never mind. I was about to say that was a white line crossing on the exiting of the pit lane. That was scary. But yeah, stop and go means that now all their plans of catching Artemenko up down the drain.
And that is going to leave us with one, could you say one winner of this, which is Omet Ohm currently going into the pits. As long as there's not going to be a penalty for Omet Ohm, it seems like it's a pretty unchallenged P2 in GT4 class, with the potential of catching up to the lead of Artemenko.
Yeah, at the same time, considering what happened with Steinhaus, I'm kind of fearing that you might have jinxed it for Omet as well.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll see. Ben Seitz is again in the lead now, post the pits in the GT3, followed by Daniel Castellana coming around here, and Isaac Ambras in P3. Whoa, there's a bit of a gaggle here. As someone went off in the background, as I mentioned, Saints with a very damaged BMW.
Pool
Isaac
sniffer.
Umbris overtaking here. That is the Ferrari of Gary Slater.
Yeah.
Lapping, actually.
Yeah, I think that P1 has been able to lap everyone except the top 5 overall in the race. And, ooh, David Ash! Oh, too wide on the exit, caught the gravel, and that's a big bump. And now we see David Steinhaus in the pits serving. Oh, Matrix too. My brain for a moment reset back to Italian. But yeah, Matrix 2 in the wall as we see David Steinhaus serving their drive-thru. And that means Eric Hutter is now in P3.
And as we see right here, Mats Orm actually seems to have maybe repaired a bit of damage. We have seen before that there was a damage on the front end of the Porsche.
Yeah.
And now she seems to be 12 seconds behind Artemenko. Well, probably just the repair of the damage. We'll have to see whether it was so harsh on her pace that she could catch these now 14 seconds up to Artemenko. But with traffic being as it is right now, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Especially now that there is Zula Kihara that, to be fair to Zula, he sat behind patiently and is waiting currently for the right occasion to overtake Omet. So good on Zul, as we now see the Jobber Drive overtaking Sergei Chernov for P8 overall, but the Aston Martin driver doesn't seem like they want to give up. They might not, they're too far to try it again in the Andretti hairpin, but still, the Aston Martin in your rearview mirrors is going to be not an easy sight to get used to. If anything, it might actually be a bit scary.
I mean, it is. It is well, it's not as scary as like a BMW M6 or a Bentley Continental, but it is still a scary sight because when you see that Aston behind you, you know that you have a braking monster behind you. Very short braking distance on that car, very good brakes, and when you have a few hard braking zones as you have here, for example into this next corner, if it's going side by side...
On his side! Oh, the German drive getting settled on the gravel, and oh, that was ugly. That was ugly. Sergei Chernov being sent into the wall. Yeah, the Bulgarian driver is not going to be happy, especially as this puts them
battling with
right
Ursi.
next to Ursi. Yeah, if I were in Chernov, I would be fuming, not going to lie.
The thing is, it is always risky to overtake into that corner.
Yeah.
Because you have... Well, you go... Actually, let's take a look if we can see that right now from a first-person perspective. Let's go with this. You drive up the mountain as Adrian gets overtaken. You have the right corner here. The short right-hander before going into the corkscrew, and that is really what caused them to come together now. Too wide through there is very challenging. The car on the right has to stay as far on the right as possible. The car on the left needs to be far more left than they're comfortable with in order for them to not collide. Unfortunately, in this situation, they did collide.
Yeah, and not going to lie, that would be a very interesting incident for the stewards, us, to look at.
Yes, indeed.
Now we see Ben Seitz back to our lead driver with... That is just a massive lead, however... The German driver is losing something on the other German driver, Castellana, since the gap is now 16.917 seconds, my bad. And before, I remember it was like 18 more seconds. So, Zeitz must have lost something, but I mean, that's one second among 17, and there are only 90 minutes left in the race. That is still a very big gap, and it is a loss that Zeitz can afford to have. It's not going to be too influential. Now, Yeah, it is not going to be too influential at all, as now we see G-Fox and Mantrix.
Teammates right
As
next to each
G-Fox is
other.
yeah, as G-Fox is trying to let Mantrix by, but Mantrix takes it very wide, the hairpin at the end of the lap. At the end of the day, Mantrix is able to go by. Now again, Daniel Castellana, which is I think he's gaining the tiniest amounts lap per lap, because now it is 16.5 seconds. Those are not massive gains. Again, by the same time, they might add up, and if Zeiss gets too comfortable, that might come and bite them in the back. It is unlikely, but never say never. As we saw in other track races, the truck at the end of the day is the one that is going to have the last laugh. Jan Paul, did something happen to Jan Paul? Because I see them losing a lot of position on my... never mind.
Jan Paul was just
Never
left up
mind.
and sides, yeah.
Yeah, it was my race control that just had a moment.
At least you're
So
still
yeah,
right.
never mind. My instruments tricked me into thinking that something happened. I shall remember this, and I mean, to be fair, it is Continental Circus. If some buffoonery doesn't happen in the commentary booth, it wouldn't be Continental Circus, would it?
No, it wouldn't. But for the last 15 minutes, let's try to fix us a little bit of something. I'm just gonna really quickly try something. So, what are some things that we'll be looking forward to for this last quarter of the race?
Well, for sure, the battle for P3 in GT3s between Ambras and Sux. Even though the Hungarian driver is 1.5 seconds behind Isaac, but the traffic is going to be something interesting that they will have to deal with. Another thing is going to be what Chernov is going to be able to do after that massive bump that they got from the German drive, as they're gaining back on the American driver on the Lexus. Also, the battle for P1 in GT4 is going to be very interesting. In a second. Okay. And also, Dekhov on Amethysta in the GT4 field, as they are currently the closest and probably the people that are going to have the best shot at giving us a battle in the field. Especially since, well, Dekhov has been making a great race, a great recovery race, so all the props to them. And I would also like to point our race direction into the battle for P3 in GT3s, because they are very close.
Exactly, Marcel Seuss has been able to catch up to Isaac Umbris now. Now they're within 1 second once again. There's two battles currently on the racetrack that are like this, as Marcel Seuss really overshooting the corner here, which is going to let them to lose a lot of position, which means Sasha Dekhov now on the rear on Amethyst Savitium is the closest battle. It seems that maybe was a bit of an issue for Amethyst Savitium, suddenly losing 8/10 there to Sasha Dekhov. But Dekhov is now completely on the rear, losing a bit through the corkscrew. However, there's cars coming up from behind as well, which they are going to have to let by. This was the Mercedes of Ben Seitz, our leader, currently lapping these cars here. Both of them losing a bit of time there, letting the car, lap, but it seems like Amethysta going a bit too wide.
Yeah, too wide, and it seems like they lost the position of Sasha Dekhov. Though our Bulgarian driver, again, with a great race. It was a recovery race since the beginning, but wow. No! Jinxed it again!
Yes.
No way, I just did that. Oh,
so,
well.
So let's take a look at that. Let's try that. Let's see if it works.
Hopefully it does work, but yeah, from the commentary booth's point of view, that was a very late move from Ametista, and oof, that was bad. But yeah, to be fair, they did let Sasha Dekov through, so props to Ametista for the sportsmanship. That is really appreciated. As we see, Sergei Chernov trying to overtake the overdrive, and they are going to make a stake at the last hairpin. Very good move from our Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, it's a good recovery drive from Chernov, definitely. Being in the pretty much, well, in the lower middle of the field now, after having a bit of an issue on the starting lap of the race. Marcel Suess is now once again within half a second of Isaac Umbras. It seems like Marcel Suess is just much more comfortable on the brakes this stage of the game.
Yeah. They will also have to contend with GT4 traffic, so I mean, both of them will have their line compromised in Tier 1 in Andretti hairpin. So will Omet Om, and I think that is Ametista in the other, in the other BMW. As we see again, the GT3 is having to deal with the GT4s right there. Silks with Umet.
It seemed like a bit of a miscommunication there. Omet switching lines to the outside, and Sis having to do the switchback as well.
Yeah.
As Adrian Dubrovka is now in the pits.
Oh, that might be damage, I think. Is that a tire change? What is? Adrian, that is an unexpected pit stop from our Polish driver in the lone Aston Martin GT4. That is not expected. Very weird, very weird.
Yeah, the car was dropped here. Let's see. Can he continue? I hear an engine starting up.
I mean, if this was a splash and dash, that was very weird, if I'm being honest, not going to lie.
You know, there's got to be some issue here with Adrian Dubrovka, maybe some technical issue. Because he's not moving, even though he's been dropped already. Marcel Suess, in the meanwhile, as it just came past here, they're catching up to Artemenko, the leader of the GT4s right now, in the beautiful, colorful BMW. And they're trying to lap. Oh, Suess going
around
very
the
wide
side.
Yeah,
very clean also. Very, very clean for our Mercedes drivers, and also Artemenko was able to keep it clean. At the same time, that must have made Artemenko lose some time from Omet Om. Oh, Ametista! Ametista with the spin instead of the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, Ametista seems to have spin out of the Andretti hairpin, losing a few positions thanks to that. And now Steve EJ is right behind Ametista as well.
Very, very interesting from our German driver to see. That is an unusual place to spin at. I'm guessing that's one wheel on the gravel, and that's how you go spinala. At the same time, he wouldn't be the first driver to take that line, so it is a bit odd. Anyway, we are back to the fight for P3 overall, and Marcel Suess does not give up. Pardon. As the gap is roughly the same, half a second from the American.
I mean, is giving up really an option at this point? You're battling for P3, you're battling for the last position of the podium, so I don't think giving up is an option at all in these last 10 minutes.
Yeah. I don't think either, as we see Isaac Ambras having to deal with a slow car in the same field. I think that is Paul in the number 296. And yeah, Isaac Ambras will probably lose some time behind that Ferrari. That will allow Marcel Suess to gain a lot of time back. As we see Isaac Ambras having to go defensive there, as those three GT3s are now all close to each other.
Well, yeah, this is
Isaac
punching them up.
Ambras Yeah, Isaac Ambras must be cursing behind his teeth. That is not something you want to see. As we now see Jan Paul letting Isaac Ambras through finally. At the same time, they're going to have this... yeah. And they're going to have the inside for a long enough time for Marcel Surks to lose some time. And we are back to the same gap we had at the beginning of the lap. That is something. I guess that goes to show that you really cannot rest in any second during a 1 hour race. Anything can happen at any time.
Exactly. Anything can happen. I mean, it's only 1 hour, quote unquote. It's not a 24-hour race or something. But still, 1 hour is a rather long time if you think about it. Especially with a pit stop in the middle like we do. So Marcel Suess is now going to try and catch. Finally, Isaac Ambras. Still struggling.
Yeah, though knowing Isaac. Oh, yeah, I think that my internet was struggling, my bad. But yeah, I think that Isaac and around Laguna Seca especially is not going to be a very easy client to overtake. Like, he's fast and knows how to defend well, and Laguna Seca is pretty good if you are on the defensive like Isaac Ambras is right now, because there aren't really any big braking zones where you can try and send it on someone else, as there were yellow flags for a moment. I think there might have been a spin somewhere in the field. Yeah, Isaac Ambras here. Oh, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx anyone.
Give in to it. Come on. You are a commentator. The commentator's curse be with you.
I mean, it is the Continental Circus, so we must clown in the commentary booth. So I will say it, even if I jinx it or not. Isaac Ambras right now is in a favorable position to finish on the podium between the two of them. There I said it. There I said it. Isaac, please do not hate me if I jinxed it. That was not my intention.
So
okay?
far, nothing. So far, nothing has happened, but Marcel Suess is catching and overtaking. What a dive there as Isaac Ambras is stuck behind G-Fox there. So now Isaac Ambras is not in the favorable position to get this last podium position. Now it is all in the hands of our Hungarian Marcel Suess.
I need to shut the hell up. I'm sorry, Isaac. I was just saying something that came across my head and then... well, I guess what happened. Too late to Kai on the milk that you threw on the floor, I guess. That's too late to do so. As well, to be fair, Isaac still has time to get the position back. I mean, there are still 5 minutes left in the race, and anything might happen in this time.
Anything.
Literally anything.
Anything.
Yeah. Anything, as you know, Marcel Suess is right now in the most commanding position in order to get in the podium position. And so he's now in the most favorable position to finish on the podium. I said this before with Isaac, I'm now saying this now with Marcel.
Fairness.
If I'm going to jinx also Marcel, at least I know that I treat them both fairly, because one for each driver.
Right ahead of this, there was just an overtake. Daniel Steinhaus overtook Eric Kutzer here as side by side here with Marcel Suess through the...
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Through the corkscrew. And to be fair to Steinhaus, that put them back on the podium. Wait a second, Artemenko! Artemenko lost the position on Matt Homov. Probably that was the yellow flag that we saw before.
Yeah, something must have happened to Artemenko. It's almost now 5 seconds up ahead of the BMW driver, our Ukrainian. But there's still the battle now for the P3 in GT3 class, as Ubidi has just lost the position to Chernov. So Eric Kutzer can still get P3, and Isaac Ambras can still get P3.
Yeah,
2 battles
a lot
for
of
P3
battles.
going on.
Yeah, 3 battles to keep our eyes on. That is going to be fun. But at the same point in time, there are only 3 minutes and 40 left, and as I said before, overtaking around Laguna Seca isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. So, I want to say that something might happen, but you know, I am leaning towards the nothing ever happens party because, well, again, it's Laguna Seca. You really do not overtake easily here. It is going to be tough for them.
You know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say everything right now. Omet almost looking very safe in P1 for GT4, and Artemenko looks also like he has that P2 wrapped up and delivered at home. Daniel Steinhaus looks to be the commanding one of the two, battling for P3. And Isaac Umbres and Marcel Suss just crashed.
What happened? They crashed. Oh no, and well, that's the fight for P3 in GT3 over, I guess. And also, Chernov is 5 seconds ahead of Ubidius, so that battle is also over. Now we see Isaac Cambras maybe trying to dive down inside. Ooh, touching the Hungarian driver, but then letting them back by. And to be fair, Isaac also kinda got in the gravel a bit too much. Like, good sportsmanship, but that was a bit too much, I guess. As Isaac Cambras lost so much time on the Hungarian.
Yes.
But this is the only battle left, I guess. Eric Hutter versus Daniel Steinhaus. Mercedes versus BMW, a tale as old as time.
Okay.
We see them now approaching T6. Both of them are clean through there. Now they are going up the hill. They are going to approach the corkscrew. Very easy corner to mess up here, but no, neither of them does mess up. Good showing from our drivers. Now through rainfall, and next is going to be the end of the lap. As these cars, I think, are going to have 2 more laps to go, as I didn't hear the leader to be on the final lap yet. So it is going to be interesting to see what they're going to be able to cook up in these last 2 laps. As we see Ubidius losing the position on the J overdrive, some problem for our German driver on the Ford.
Yeah, it looks like Ubidius has some issues right now. It's quite a lot slower than what he has shown previously. Well, yeah, we will have to find out. We don't have to find out what happened there. It's unfortunate for Ubidius, for our local Mustang driver, as Steinhaus is here trying to lap. That is the Mercedes of Steve EJ.
As he's going to let them by. Good thing on our American Mercedes driver. And leader is on the final lap, so these 2 cars are going to be on the final lap as well. Wait, not on the final lap, on their second to last lap. Hutter needs to hurry up. There isn't a lot of time left to overtake Steinhaus.
There's also a question now, can he even? It doesn't seem like... It's almost in the pits!
Oh, why? That draws the wrench again into the podium as Artemenko is able to get P1 again. I didn't even notice that Omet was in the pits.
I guess that is called commentator's curse now I've done it too.
Yeah. I mean, that looks like a splash and dash, I think, but wow, that was odd. That was very odd from Omet Om. But yeah, this is going to gift Artemenko P1 back.
Honestly,
I mean, I don't think...
Maybe we also missed a drive-through, like drive-through for track limits. Who knows? That might have also been the case.
Yeah, that is possible.
Omet Om is now behind P2 as we come up with Ben Seitz to finish the race.
Yeah, dominant drive from Ben Seitz. Like, we were able... All the time that we went back on the German driver on Mercedes, we were like, oh yeah, Ben Seitz is in P1 with a massive lead. So good on Seitz. Now Castellana also finishing with a strong P2. nothing really ever happened in Castellano's race as well, but, you know, sometimes that's the good thing that you want to happen to you. As we now see, Silks and Ambra's going to finish the race in P3 and P4, as RC is going to finish in P10. Now, back to Hutter and Steinhaus, they are going to exit Rainfall. Hutter doesn't really have a lot of opportunities left in order to overtake Steinhaus. Maybe this last hairpin, is he going to be able to make the move? No, maybe on the outside there is a bump, and no, Steinhaus is going to be able to put the throttle down earlier, and that must mean that he's going to be able to finish in P3 overall in GT4.
Well done defending by Steinhaus there in the end, parking it on the apex, not let Hutter through. So let's quickly go through the standings as we have them. Ben Seitz won in front of Castellan and Sus making up the podium for GT3. Isaac Umbris in P4, Sulakiar in P5, Gary Slater in P6, Chernoff in 7, Overdrive in 8, Ubidias in 9, Ursi in 9.
Ursi 9, yeah.
Paul in 10, Ubidias in 11. Artemenko is the lead, the winner of the AM class in front of Ohm, Steinhaus, and Hützer, who are still doing their in-lap here, chilling.
Yeah.
David S, last of the finishers in GT3. Dechkov was then in 17, followed by Amethysta VTube, Steve EJ, G-Fox, Ian the Terrible, Adrian Dubrovka, and Death Player enter. And unfortunately, we have had one DNF as well. But yeah, this has
that
been...
was something.
This has been a race, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Truly enjoyed on my end, and I think also on your end. We both had a lot of fun for this race. I'm not going to lie, that was fun. Oh.
It was.
Well
absolutely.
then. Yeah. That was extremely fun. I am looking forward to see similar action during the next race, which, if I recall correctly, is going to be around Suzuka for the Asian round of the Continental Circus.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I do remember Suzuka.
Yes, it is going to be the Asian round of Suzuka next week, today in 1 week, and we'll see what these people cook up for then.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting, especially considering how technical Suzuka is going to be. And, you know, lapping slower cars is going to be something that our GT drivers will have to look for. Anyway, this was round 2 of the Continental Circus. With you, it was me, Sebastiano Rossi, and Giulia Strasser in the commentary booth. We will see you next week around Suzuka, as we said. And see you on the racetrack. Goodbye!